Before Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Meduza relied on readers inside Russia for 90% of the donations that sustained our work. Since the Kremlin expanded its war to all of Ukraine, however, Meduza's survival has depended on our international audience. The Russian authorities can try to stop the public from seeing our journalism, but they will fail. We have prepared for this. Meduza has a mobile app, we have an enormous audience on social media, and we distribute newsletters over email. Our readers will still be able to reach us using VPNs. Financial uncertainty in Russia means Meduza must now turn to our readers around the world. To continue our work, we turn to you. Welcome to the Naked Pravda. Hello there, I'm Kevin Rothrock, the managing editor of Meduza's English language edition, and welcome back to another episode of The Naked Pravda. One question I've heard often over the years, and especially frequently in the last couple of months, is about what kind of information still reaches ordinary Russians. The assumption here isn't just that the public doesn't know where to look for independent journalism or that the Kremlin blocks it all, but that nobody is even creating it. As a longtime editor at Meduza, I've obviously responded to these questions with a lot of self-promotion. Go look at Meduza, I tell people. It's a beacon of the free press, don't you know? But there have always been other media outlets also, or rather there were until very recently. But even journalists from publications that have dissolved, like Znak.com or Echo of Moscow, or outlets that have suspended operations like TV Rain or Novaya Gazeta, many of these journalists have rebounded with their own projects, utilizing newsletters and social media. Even without the infrastructure of the old newsrooms, the work continues. For a better understanding of this new guerrilla reporting, I spoke to two independent journalists now operating from outside Russia to find out how they're managing this job.
I wouldn't say that independent media in Russia failed because they have been being destroyed for 20 years.
That's Farida Rustamova, a journalist who's worked with BBC Russia, RBC, Meduza, TV Rain, and others. She now runs a Telegram channel and a Substack newsletter where she shares political analysis and her own exclusive reporting on decision-making in the Putin administration. I asked her if she feels like her colleagues lost the fight to the Kremlin's propaganda, given the public's at least passive support for the war against Ukraine. She insists that independent journalists did everything they could.
It's not that independent media failed, it's the government who destroyed them. And the main independent media, they literally survived just because some enthusiasts decided that they will continue their work. So right. I wouldn't say that, but I get it. Obviously, we underestimated the power of how propaganda shapes people's minds and how it affects their lives. But on the other hand, one thing that I want to say all the time is that all the Russian independent journalists, all the human rights activists, all the oppositioners, they have been telling that Russian government it's a mafia state and that they are all criminals, basically. Well, maybe not all of them, each and everyone, but still, yeah, that this is a criminal state and that this is brutal and that Putin's government, it's been in a state of war with its own society for 20 years, but nobody listened to us. Well, I mean, they kind of listened and they expressed their concerns. They are very deep concerns, but that was it. You cannot overthrow military autocracy by simply going to a street rally and simply publishing some independent journalism.
I put the same question to Yekaterina Kotrikadze, the former head of the information service at the television network RTVI, and most recently an anchor at TV Rain. Yekaterina runs a Telegram channel now where she tracks the news, and she co-hosts a YouTube channel that acts as a stand-in for TV Rain, which she and the station's senior managers are planning to resurrect in some new form very soon. Some independent journalists in Russia, I told her, have come to the conclusion that their industry failed in competition with state propaganda, making the invasion of Ukraine possible and acceptable to the majority of Russians. But she doesn't see it that way.
No, I categorically disagree with this approach. Categorically.
Okay.
Because, well, the fact is that TV Rain, as an example, and for example, Radio Echo of Moscow or Novaya Gazeta or other, smaller independent media outlets did have huge success in Russia, in spite of the fact that there were repressions, there were decisions made by Russian government that were a huge problem for independent media, in spite of the fact that they were trying to call us foreign agents, they were trying to build new restrictions for us. Still, we did have huge success. Kevin, just imagine during the last days of TV Rain's working on air after the war has started, it was 25 million views per day only on YouTube of TV Rain.
Right.
And it means that there were people, and still are people in Russia who do not support the situation that they're facing right now. I can see and I can feel that there is a huge need of the independent information. People are asking and even begging us to start something new, to reunite TV Rain, to build a new television channel wherever we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
In the situation that Russia has seen itself during the past months, it's impossible to understand what's the level of support of the war. This is not common knowledge that Russians support Vladimir Putin massively. I don't think that it's true, actually. I think that there are a lot of people, and definitely maybe even more than 50% of Russians who support Vladimir Putin. But there is another part of the society which is also huge. I would say maybe a half even of Russian population. These people are scared to death. Can you imagine how can you live in the country where everything is banned, everything is prohibited, where people who take part in rallies, people who try to protest in the streets, they are arrested or they are prosecuted or they have some kind of problems with the law and the governmental organizations. It means that everyone in Russia understands that even if he or she wants to say no to this war, it would have terrible consequences for this person. So don't judge on Russian population and on Russian society by just seeing that there are no huge protests against the war. This is a dictatorship in the country. You cannot expect something big with massive rallies like we see in the United States of America in this kind of situation.
But you think that the independent media is successful in reaching roughly half the population? You're saying that you think half the population has the facts, so to speak?
I think so. I mean, this is my personal attitude to the situation. Maybe I'm too optimistic. Definitely, we are talking about millions of people, right?
Right.
This is what I'm absolutely sure about.
More than you see in the streets of any protest.
Of course. Yeah. And so, yes, we were successful, right? I'm saying this because TV Rain was banned in 2014 from cable networks in Russian Federation.
Right.
After the annexation of Crimea, after the revolution in Ukraine, TV Rain was banned, but still it survived. And TV Rain has chosen the subscription model. And in spite of the whole, propaganda machine not surviving, but flourishing in Russia, in spite of this propaganda machine flourishing, in spite of the new laws and new tools that Russian politicians, Russian authorities were inventing against us, we were still successful. We were even making money from this business. How can you say that? It means that until the situation became just threatening and dangerous for the journalists,
Right.
it was a success for us and our colleagues from Echo of Moscow. Echo of Moscow was the main radio station. It was the most successful radio station in Russian Federation. Everyone in the government hated it, but still.
So a lot of what it sounds like you're describing is kind of how the independent media managed to really flourish, even under the authoritarian conditions up until a few months ago. But there's certainly been, the crackdown has accelerated in a way that most, if not almost all, truly independent journalists are now operating from outside the country.
Yeah.
Has that impacted the quality of information available to Russians and to the rest of the world? Like, do you think that it's still the case that half of Russians, or even in an optimistic scenario, that millions of Russians are still getting access to true information, accurate reporting, or has the crackdown, has that actually limited it now? And now propaganda is truly king. I mean, has it changed?
Well, yeah, of course, in spite of my optimistic approach, there is...
I'm going to drag you down to pessimism.
You're right. There is a huge problem right now. There is no one left there.
Right.
Definitely. Everything is destroyed.
Yeah.
Everything. All the people who were trying to cover the situation, the issues that Russia faces, not only the war, everything, right? Every single person, as I understand, almost everyone has left Russian Federation. And of course, the quality of the coverage of Russian issues, Russian everyday life is lower right now than it was.
I wouldn't say that the quality of the coverage declined. I would say that I really feel the lack of the coverage of current situation inside Russia. We're out of touch, from Russian society. And we know there's only little that we know about them now. This isn't say, but people are literally in some kind of cage. They're left with propaganda, and that's the only thing that they consume now, because everything is blocked. I heard that the use of VPN increased incredibly, but still, the main thing is now propaganda. It actually used to be, but I can say that at the beginning of the war, the first few days, we could see that people were they wanted to have some independent information. And the traffic of TV Ray, the traffic of other independent of Meduza and other independent outlets when they were not blocked. It was insane. It increased incredibly. So what my sources actually told me, it's their estimation, but it's quite obvious that there was a split in the society in the beginning of the war, when independent media still were operating. And the government, they quickly got it, and they just decided to quickly shut everything down. Yeah, that's what they did. Almost all the outlets where I used to work are now blocked or shut down. Only one of them is just simply state-controlled now. It's not owned by state, but it's state-controlled. It's being censored. By the way, this particular outlet, it's RBK, it wasn't shut down, but it was a crackdown in 2016, right after our investigations about... It happened because of our investigations about Putin's family and his assets, Panama Papers, etc.
Right.
That was the only reason. At the time, it was hugest independent media holding in Russia, and it was too popular for Russian government to leave it like uncensored. I've been thinking about leaving journalism.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're still thinking about that, or?
No, but it was by the end of last year. I decided to quit TV and take a break because I realized that everything will only get worse,
Yeah.
and they will shut all the Romanian media down in just a matter of time
Right.
and very short time.
Yeah.
And because they, as you know, they already designated everyone as foreign agents, as undesirable organizations.
Yeah.
And well,
So what changed your mind? Because it obviously did get worse.
I took a break and I didn't work for 3 or 4 months, about 4 months.
Yeah.
When the war started, I felt so devastated, so anxious, so nervous, and literally frozen. I mean, from the shock. And
Yeah.
but in a couple of days, I guess in 3 days, I just realized that I should put myself together and do something, because it's impossible to live in this terrible frozen.
Frozen state.
Well, I just but what can I do? How can I help? I'm a journalist. What else can I do except writing articles or
Yeah.
calling the things by their names?
Right.
And that's when I decided to try to write something. And this is actually the great thing, is that I'm just realizing it now, that this whole terrible thing happening, it left me without my home, at least for now. I don't know when I will see all of my closest friends, and when and where. I don't know what I'm gonna do in the next month because everything is so uncertain. And I have strange feelings about being Russian right now. I don't want to generalize and to say that I'm refusing being Russian, but I have really mixed and complicated feelings about it.
Right. Well, especially when you're abroad, navigating your own
Yeah.
nationality is always complicated. I always feel that way whenever I go, even if I go to Canada or whatever. It's like I feel more American than usual, but also it's like how do I express that? Do I like apologize for that? Especially during like the Iraq War era, if you went abroad as American, you had to be like, sorry everyone, sorry I'm American.
No, it's kind of same thing here.
Farida Rustamova is no stranger to controversy. In December 2019, at Vladimir Putin's big end-of-the-year press conference, she asked the president directly about his 2 daughters. The same 2 women, incidentally, who were just targeted with U.S. sanctions, Ekaterina Tikhonova and Maria Vorontsova. Farida ended her question like this.
Скажите, пожалуйста, когда вы признаете, что они ваши дети?
Tell me, please, when will you admit that they are your children? And when will they open themselves to society just like the children of other world leaders? Ever since, Farida hasn't been allowed to attend any events with Putin. The Secret Service banned her, she told me. More recently, in late February 2022, just after Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Farida started a newsletter on Substack. She published her first article on March 1st, and 5 days later, she published an English translation of that article. The headline of that first article reads as follows. They're carefully enunciating the word clusterfuck. How Russian officials and members of parliament really feel about Putin's decision to send troops to Ukraine. I asked Farida what drove her to start a newsletter.
It wasn't like this kind of, outright decision that I'm starting my newsletter.
You're sitting under a tree and like the Substack apple hit you on the head and you said, Eureka.
Yeah. I just started writing an article about how the Russian elite feels about the beginning of the war. I was just talking to them and asking how they, same as I did with everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that there is quite a lot that can be told about this, about their perception and whether they expected it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started writing, and then it was, I was coming up with the ideas, like step by step. I was thinking of, in the beginning, I thought that I can offer my article to some independent outlet, like, I don't know, the Medusa or maybe the Bell or something else. But afterwards, I decided that I should probably try to start my own newsletter and try to make it on Substack, because Substack is not blocked in Russia. This is a not popular platform, and I can rely on my reputation. Well, at least I can try to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And see what happens. That was just a pure experiment. So I decided to do that. And actually that was shocking, because this article, it was incredibly popular. And when you publish something for the first time, you never expect that it will gain such huge popularity within days.
The most recent, if I'm not mistaken, the most recent article on your Substack is a story about how sanctions have not had the impact on elite and mass public support for Putin and the government that the West has probably intended. That it's actually led to a consolidation, because a lot of the elites have now that it's the. Am I mischaracterizing it, or is that would you describe?
No. I just wanted to say that actually, do we know what all the sanctions were meant to do with the society? We actually don't know that. We never heard that
Right.
anyone say, I mean, as some senior official, that
Right.
they're imposing the sanctions so that Russian society would overthrow the Putin's regime because they don't have McDonald's anymore.
Right.
Well, we don't know that. So there is, some people say, some experts say that, and I actually agree with them, that there wasn't such intention, that probably Western countries decided just to punish everyone, and because this is war, actually. And the bomb, it doesn't choose anyone who it's gonna kill or injure. So yeah, this is literally war, and they are not trying to make any split anymore in elites or in society, because they are now thinking that this is useless. So we don't know that. But about my last article, I want to emphasize that I'm kind of a doctor who measures temperature, current temperature. So we don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know how even the same people are going to feel in another month or two, or will feel all the possible effects of massive sanctions. We don't know that. And of course, I will try to learn that. But if somebody will still agree to talk to me, because, I think that the level of repressions inside Russia is certainly going to rise.
Okay. Can you walk me through, I know that the sources that you cite in that article, they're unnamed for obvious reasons, but like, how do you go about generally putting together an article like that? Like, at what point do you decide, okay, I've spoken to enough people that when I'm making these kind of generalizations, it's enough? Like, when does it feel like you have a good sense of things?
Well, I actually never liked this type of articles, actually, about the spirit,
the
mood. Yeah. And I used to think that there was enough information to make conclusions about the mood. And actually, it was true, because we used to have some independent media, some media about business and politics. And there were plenty of information that allowed you to make some conclusions. That's why I never like articles like that. We know that some Western media used to publish them a lot, but the situation will change enormously. So I decided that I should write a sequel of the first article. But it was really challenging because I wasn't sure that I can make all these generalizations and that my sources, that they are not deceiving me, that they are not manipulating me.
Yeah.
Even though with most of them, I have long-time relationships as a journalist and source relationships. So that's why I try to speak to as many people as possible. And based on my experience with the relationships with these people, I was able to distinguish whether they are manipulated or not. But in some cases, and I noted that in my article, I noted that I'm not sure if this person is defensive or he's really sincerely feeling this. So, yeah. Well, we have to bear in mind that this is not this is just a journalistic article. I understand that it will be better if some other journalists or other media publish something on the same topic, and we will have some wider range of opinions of sources. But we don't have it, so I understand that some people put responsibility on me about what the whole elite thinks, but it's just not really fair.
On March 1st, the same day that Farida's first Substack post went out, the Russian authorities blocked access to Daj Television, or TV Rain, for supposed violations of the Kremlin's strict ban on calling the invasion of Ukraine an invasion, or a war. 2 days later, TV Rain's general director announced a temporary halt to all operations. The network, once known as the Optimistic Channel, closed down. But Ekaterina Kotrikadze says a revival is coming. She and other executives are busy devising and strategizing that return right now. In the meantime, she and her husband, TV Rain editor-in-chief Tikhon Zetko, co-host a YouTube channel as a kind of stepping stone to the network's real comeback.
We are thinking about looking for people when we reunite TV Rain, and we have this big plan of reunion and building something new out of Russia, unfortunately, so far.
Right.
We still think that there would be people inside of the country who would be ready to cooperate with us, to maybe just random citizens. And this is the only way, as I understand, this is the only way of working in these circumstances. Also, of course, we understand that there would be a huge risk for people who are still there and who would want to cooperate. And this is the challenge that we are facing. We are going to think about this, and I mean, we will figure something out. There's no
anonymous file uploads, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. Maybe we still need to be very careful with this because, I mean, it's really a huge danger for people. So it's going to be, it's a very tough decision, but we are still on the stage when this is not the main issue for us. We want to rebuild the channel. After we understand what's the plan, finally, then we will try to find these people. We will try to arrange things, and we will try to invent maybe some kind of form of cooperation when the people who would cooperate with us, who would work with us, would not face the danger of being jailed or whatever.
Right. What kind of journalism, before you're able to devise this like new, because obviously like the conditions now, they demand a lot of new thinking about how to do coverage in the first place. And until you're able to like create those new systems, what kind of reporting is possible now that you still see value in? Because I know you're still doing, you're still covering Russia. Like, what kind of things are still possible?
Well, there are still people, very brave people in Russia, political activists, volunteers, members of NGOs, observers, people who are still ready to openly speak about what's going on. in Russia.
Hmm.
We interview them.
Right.
We also collect the videos with footage, pictures, videos, audios, everything that is available online.
Yeah.
We have our reporters here. They mainly collect this pictures, this footage online, and they record interviews with witnesses. The only thing that we can do is rely on people who are still in Moscow,
Yeah.
in Russia.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of people who are brave enough, and I respect them, and I adore these people who are still there
Yeah.
and who wants to speak, who are ready to speak. There's no many of them left in Russia, but still there are some opportunities. And also, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram still work. YouTube still works. I mean, Facebook and Instagram through VPN, people are using it.
Yeah.
People are much more sophisticated than Vladimir Putin. If we talk about technologies, he doesn't use internet. He's not about internet and global networks. He is about the files that he gets from his inner circle, and they put on pages, on paper, everything they want him to see. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think he has some problems with the reality acknowledgement. The rest of Russia, particularly new generation, they use VPN.
Yeah.
They put videos and texts and pictures online so we can gather it. Of course, verify everything like 10 times and then report to our viewers. This is not the best thing to do, unfortunately. I understand that, but there's no other way.
Yeah. So you're not particularly concerned with potentially YouTube being blocked because, like, right now, that's your main channel, right? I mean, I know you have a Telegram channel as well, but the bulk of your new content is on YouTube. And I imagine any future iteration of TV Rain will also rely on YouTube heavily, maybe.
Well, we are thinking about, again, this is the question, this is $1 million question. What will be TV Rain doing with this signal, with the coverage, with the communication with the audience? We're not sure about that.
Yeah.
We are thinking, of course, we are concerned with YouTube.
Yeah.
We are ready. We understand that it will be blocked eventually in Russia because it's pretty much impossible for Vladimir Putin to take this situation as it is. He has banned and blocked and destroyed everything. So YouTube is the only thing that is left and that is widely used by independent journalists, including myself, including Tikhon Ditko. So, of course, we understand that VPN would be used by the audience, but we know that the amount of people who would join us on our live streams will inevitably get lower.
Yeah.
Well, we need to, I mean, I don't know what to do with this, really. So far, I don't have an answer. What should be? Maybe there would be new technologies invented by people who are faster, who think faster, who are more flexible than Russian regime. And I have a huge hope for these new inventors. Let's see. So far, YouTube is the only way to reach the people in Russia.
Are there advantages? I mean, we've talked a lot about the disadvantages of reporting remotely, and the new media environment is obviously difficult to work in, more difficult. But you're also, in some sense, you're finally free, right? I mean, I assume you won't have to do foreign agent warnings anymore. And
Ты читаешь мысли. Yeah, that's true. I was shocked when we were sitting in the small studio of our friends, Formula TV. It's a local TV station in Georgia. They have given us everything free of charge.
Yeah.
And we were sitting in the studio. It was the first stream on our YouTube channel, and we were quoting someone. I think it was Medusa, by the way. And I was going to say, which is recognized as a foreign agent, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, oh my God, I don't have to say this. I don't have to say this. My God. Yeah, this is a good thing to understand.
Yeah.
And also, there are people who are saying terrible things about Russian president and Russian Federation and Russian soldiers. And I don't have this feeling of freezing that this, I mean, when it happened before on TV Rain, when some terrible things were said.
Yeah, you had to worry you're going to be held liable for that.
I had to worry because this could be used against us.
And it was ultimately.
And it was used.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, I'm not a fan of this kind of wording, and I hate speech.
Sure.
Whoever says it, I mean, I
Right.
don't care. It's not the
Yeah.
way that I like to communicate with the guests.
Yeah.
At least I know that no one would, try to put me in jail because of someone says that Vladimir Putin is a killer,
Yeah.
for example.
Did you think that that Russia would launch this full-scale invasion of Ukraine? Because it took me by surprise, even though military analysts were saying for months, like, look at the satellite pictures, like they're going to do it. But I was with a lot of people who said this doesn't make any sense. The idea of like bombing Kiev is just too absurd to even contemplate.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say, has the war changed your opinion? Because then I get into this problem of the war actually started 8 years ago, and Ukrainians will constantly remind people of that. So I don't want to offend anybody who knows the war started 8 years ago. So I'll just say the full-scale invasion, like, has it changed the way you understand the regime or the administration or like the nature of whatever's going on in Russia politically?
Well,
or did it confirm what you already thought?
Yeah, they did. Actually, I am a person who was in Georgia in 2008,
Okay.
witnessing full-scale
Yeah.
invasion of Georgia, of my country, by Vladimir Putin, who was prime minister at that period of time. But of course, it was
Right.
his decision, and of course,
Sure.
his responsibility. Whatever Dmitry Medvedev says about that.
Well, now Medvedev is like he sounds as crazy as Zhirinovsky.
I mean, oh my God, I'm just I can't even talk about this person.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, I remember that, and after this whole gathering of Russian soldiers started at the border of Ukraine,
Right.
it was a period of time when everyone was saying that Vladimir Putin is bluffing, right?
Yeah.
Remember?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
all the political analysts and observers in Russia
Right.
were sure that there would be no war, that Vladimir Putin is just trying to buy some, negotiations with Joseph Biden, that Vladimir Putin is trying to buy some kind of maybe gestures from the Western world,
Right.
maybe lifting of sanctions and so on and so forth, and guarantees of not invading internal Russian affairs. But I was saying every day on air that he was preparing for war. I was sure that something was going on and something would happen. And it was me and Misha Fishman, two journalists on TV Rain, that were absolutely sure about the war was coming. And even, there was a moment when Macron visited Moscow, and then it was Scholz visiting Moscow, and there were statements made that there was something prepared, an agreement or some kind of deal between the NATO and Russian Federation. And still, I was insisting that Vladimir Putin would do something, because he could not, in any case, without this war, he could not save his face.
Yeah.
Because I follow him for so long that I understand a little bit about his positioning himself. I mean, what he thinks is right and what he thinks Western world should see in Russia and in him personally. So that's why I was insisting in. But still, Kevin, I need to admit that I was thinking, more about the full-scale invasion inside of the Donetsk and Luhansk regions. I was expecting a war, but not in Kiev. I mean, when I was seeing this reports of British or American intelligence saying that Vladimir Putin would try to change the government in Kiev and would bomb the capital of Ukraine, I was thinking that this is something like, this is a big problem of the Western journalism that they're publishing it. I did have some questions.
Didn't they learn anything from Iraq, like that kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, it was something. It was. It looked like too much for me.
Yeah.
Right. But then, you know, when you see this, you need to say, dear Bloomberg, and dear whatever Spiegel, dear New York Times, I am so sorry that that I was skeptical about some of your publications.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't get a free pass for everything, but yeah, on this one.
On this one, absolutely.
You've been listening to the Naked Pravda, an English language podcast from Meduza. On today's show, you heard from independent journalists Ferida Rustamova and Yekaterina Kotrikadze about their work keeping Russian journalism alive at a time when the country itself has decimated the domestic free press. The Naked Pravda is a podcast from Meduza. It's our only English language show, and I hope you recommend us to your friends and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're tuning in. It helps put this program in front of more people. Also, if you value Meduza's reporting, whether in English or Russian, please consider making a donation at meduza.io to help sustain our work. Recurring pledges help the most, but we'll take whatever you can spare. Thanks for listening and come back soon.